That's your group, huh?
There you go. That's it.
We've got Andrew Hudson on the phone. Oh, that was great. We wanted to play a little bit of your music because, of course, I met you as a bass player, but you took a whole different turn. You went a whole different direction, and you are actually changing lives. I'm talking to Andrew Hudson with Andrew Hudson's Jobs List. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm sitting here out in South Denver. I'm sorry I can't be there face-to-face with you, but I think, as I told you, I had a sick 6-year-old, so she's down watching the cartoons, and I'm up here talking about finding a job.
Oh, great. Well, my show, Making a Way, is all about enhancing the lives of people, and people are constantly saying, there's no jobs, but I watch every day. You post new postings and new jobs listings, and your website, andrewhudsonsjobslist.com, is it .com, .org?
It's .com.
.com is a wonderful outlet for finding jobs. Tell us a little bit about it, how you got started with it, and give us a little background there.
Sure. Well, it initially started as a communications vehicle for when I was working with Mayor Wellington Webb, and I set up a system where I could just instantly communicate information about the city and what the mayor's schedule and things that he was involved with. And then people started sending me jobs. This was almost 15 years ago, because they knew I had built up this great network of people. Mm-hmm. And so they said, hey, here's a great job that we're hiring for. Could you put that onto your list? And I did that, and the list kept growing and growing. And then I ran off to run the advertising and marketing for Frontier Airlines. Mm-hmm. And it was back in the days when we were doing the cute little animals, the talking animal campaign.
Which was a very successful marketing campaign.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I know that the new Frontier is a lot different than the way that we used to run it, but it was a good time back then. And then, like a lot of entrepreneurs, about 8 years ago, this thing had been built to a point where I said, well, I think I can do this as a full-time business. And I gave myself 3 months, and I turned it on, and the employers now pay me to post the jobs. It's still completely free for all of the job seekers who want to go to it. And that's how I make a living, is that the employers pay me to post the jobs. We post about 1,000 jobs a month. And it's been a great thing for me, because I can do this from my home, watch my kids, and I'm also really fortunate that I'm able to help so many people.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a wonderful, wonderful outlet. I did notice that you have space on your website for people who want to put their profiles on, and then there is a really small nominal fee for that.
Yeah, and that's really a reflection of how job seeking is today. This is not back in the days, Cheryl, when you and I were getting out of college and looking for a job, where you have your one really good resume and you send it out, and it's just kind of, go fish and see who will respond. Today, full contact sport. This is when companies are actively looking for candidates. So they're looking on LinkedIn, they're looking on Indeed, and then on my website I have a thing called Job Seeker Profiles, where for $10 for 30 days you can write up your own 300-word profile about yourself. And I've had a lot of really good success with that. Job seekers tell me all the time that they're getting contacted by recruiters just by that.
I love it. I love it. Well, I just to be clear on something that you said, you mentioned when we got out of college. I never attended college. Everything that I have learned has been career equity. It has been time invested, and I was just wondering, because I'm running into a wall there, because most of the online job companies, it is college based, it is degree based, but is there room for people like myself? I've been doing marketing. I design websites. I've been doing marketing for over 10 years. I've been designing websites for almost 10 years. And do you think there's space for people who are just living their crafts, as opposed to paying for formal education?
And I'm somewhat in the same boat as you. I have a degree, but I was a very poor college student. And, I had no idea when I actually got that piece of paper that said I had a college degree. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I will say to you that most of the skills and the strengths in my background come from either working in restaurants or playing music. And I will take somebody who has street smarts over book smarts any single day of the week. And when I was doing a lot of hiring in my corporate world, I would be looking for the people who had the street smarts, the people who knew how to make something of themselves. And more than importantly, and this is something I really want to talk about because I think this is one of you, Cheryl, I admire so much about you, and it's not easy to do, but you have a level of authenticity that is just bleeding from your soul. And a lot of people have a hard time tapping into that. And being authentic and being very real about who you are, what you have done in your past, your accomplishments, your abilities, your skills, all of that, that has to come out in all of the touch points when you're looking for a job. And authenticity is not necessarily defined by a college degree. It's defined by your values, about how you work, about the things that you like, the things that make sense to you, about integrity, ethics, responsibility, accomplishment. I mean, all of those are the things that employers, more often than not, are going to be able to connect with you. And so many people that call me up, they said, Andrew, they say, hey, will you look at my resume? And I said, well, before I look at your resume, tell me what are your 3 greatest strengths. And they stumble. And they can't, it's like one of these things where they never even thought about that.
Right.
I said, well, you're going to get asked that question in a job interview. And if you can't tell me verbally what your 3 greatest strengths are, then how can you write a resume? Because a resume is not just a laundry list of places that you've worked. A resume has got to also connect with somebody in a very authentic level that says, this is who I am, this is what I'm made of, these are my accomplishments, my skills. And people are afraid to talk about those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, so let me ask you this then. Would you be willing to put, because I did notice on Andrew Hudson's jobs list, you have entry level, you have 3 different levels that people, when they initially come on to sign on, that they say what their levels are. But is there a box that you can check, or is there something that you can put on there that says, I have 30 years experience working with the public, as opposed to just, I graduated from high school? Because I always think it takes away the fact that when I put that my education stopped at high school, basically, I don't feel like there's a space for me to say, but I've been living this. I've been doing this for 34 years. This is how I've made my living. Do you foresee that is something like an extra box that should be added? For
it's an excellent idea, and let me think about how I would incorporate that. But let me also tell you something, and this is something that I think a lot of job seekers fall into. I met with an award-winning salesperson. He didn't have a college degree, but he was an award-winning salesperson. Mm-hmm. And he came to me, and he was struggling looking for a job. And he said to me, I said to him, tell me, what are some of the struggles? He says, I'm too old. I'm overqualified for some jobs. I'm underqualified for other jobs. I'm asking for too much money here. I don't think I'm asking for enough here. My resume stinks. He went on for about 15 different reasons why he was having a hard time. Mm-hmm. And then I said to him, well, give me some reasons why people should hire you. And he gave a blank stare, and he gave me 3 or 4 kind of just general kind of expectations in terms of, I'm hardworking and so forth and so on. And my point was this. He had been struggling so hard that he had literally created this person in front of the mirror that he didn't recognize anymore. He wasn't talking about award-winning salesperson. He wasn't talking about the amount of revenue he was able to raise at his last company, or the awards that he received, or the things that really defined who he was. And I have a thing I call this. I call it stinking thinking. Mm-hmm. And it starts to creep up on you when you send out a resume and you don't hear back. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into a resume, and maybe you even get an interview, but then they don't call you back or you don't get the job. All of a sudden, we're human beings. Start thinking, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? What is it about me that is not making the grade here? And then all of a sudden we start creating this person that we think others want and see. So I'm not saying that. You're 100% authentic, but also I would keep the worries about the college degree in the back of your head.
Okay.
And not think so much about that, and worry, and not even worry, but just put yourself out there. Because, girlfriend, you have so much going on. I'm not kidding.
Thank you for saying that but you're so right, Andrew, that life will beat you down. You know, and particularly I can say this about myself. I found out when I left New York that I was kind of a self-saboteur, you know, that I had allowed the hard, because New York was very hard for me, and it humbled me, and I knew that it affected the way I was talking about myself, the way I was seeing myself, the way I was putting myself out there, and I have literally spent the last 2 years trying to get back up to the person that I was when I left out of here going to New York, when I was so confident and I was all of that. And so we have to be very careful about the words we use when we talk about ourselves. We have to be very careful about, you know, how we think about ourselves. And you're right. Pump yourself up. And when you walk into a room and someone says something for you, come up with the good things first. Don't let the bad things be the first thing that come out of your mouth, because then that's what happens. When you lead in with negativity, you start detracting from really who you are and what you bring to the table. Yes?
Oh, and you know, the other thing is that people have a hard time taking ownership of themselves. So, for example, I mean, we have this very overrated value in America called humility. Mm-hmm. Oh, you can't take credit for that. You can't take ownership. That was a team effort. And I see it all the time in job interviews where people come up and they try and talk about themselves, but they end up talking about their team, and they talk about. I'm like, I want to know about you. And I'll give you an example. My son was at a baseball game last spring. He hit a home run, knocked 3 people in. They won the game in the 9th inning. And he comes running up to me, and I said, "Dang!" I said, "You the one you won that game?" And my wife was like, "Oh no, it was a team effort." I'm like, "Were you at the same game I just watched?" Because he just did that. Yeah. Wrong with telling him that was your result of your home run. You did that. But it's the same thing with job seekers. It's like there's these 2 extremes. One is called death, and the other one is called ego. And both of those are huge turnoffs for employers when you're sitting there in front of an interview. Right. That sweet spot in the middle, it's red-hot confidence. Ooh. And it's not bragging, and it's not arrogance, and it's not begging. Mm-hmm. This is who I am. This is what I did. This is the education I have. This is the experiences I have. I've had. These are this is why I got recruited to this other company, and people will respond well to that because that's authentic and that's who you are, and it's not trying to make up somebody who you think they want you to be.
Oh, I love that. Well, we're going to end with that one, Andrew. I tell you what, the information that you've shared today, I know that we have helped some folks. You know, if nothing else, to just feel, you know, be very aware of what you're saying about yourself when you walk in an interview. Again, the website is Andrew Hudson's Jobs List. That's jobs with an S.com. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. This meant a great deal to me, and also to Henry, who wanted to say hello to you. Go ahead and say hello, Henry.
Hey, how are you, Andrew? How you doing out there in the beautiful world?
Good, Henry, and I'm really proud and glad to see what you're doing out there for the community with this station. It's terrific.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you
again. Absolutely, and we'll talk soon, Cheryl.
Okay. All right. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Have you always wanted to advertise?